Jurors are hearing from the star prosecution witness at Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial. Cassandra Ventura, the singer known as Cassie, taking the witness stand and talking about her 10-year relationship with Sean Combs. She said at first he was charming, taking her around the world on trips, and then he turned abusive and controlling. Cassie talking about the freak-offs that are at issue in this case, highly orchestrated sex parties that she said lasted up to 4 days. She said they were so exhausting, she needed a recovery period from uses of drugs and the physical exhaustion of the activities at play. Cassie testified that she met Combs when she was an aspiring recording star. He signed her to his label, Bad Boy Records, and from there, they eventually developed a romantic and sexual relationship. She says he first kissed her when they were on a trip to Las Vegas for her 21st birthday. And then they began hanging out. She says she was sexually inexperienced and that Combs took the lead in their sexual relationship. Eventually, she says he introduced her to the concept of freak-offs, these highly orchestrated sex parties. At first, Cassie said she was apprehensive. She didn't want to go along with that concept, but she wanted to make Combs happy, and so she did. Eventually, she said, Combs turned violent. He turned controlling. He rented her an apartment in New York City just blocks from where he lived. And when they moved to Los Angeles to be closer to some of his children, he rented her an apartment that was just a 3-minute drive away from where he lived. Cassie taking the stand as she is just about to give birth to her 3rd child. She is heavily pregnant, at times putting her hands on her belly as she sits on the witness stand. At times she was emotional, dabbing her eyes with a tissue and pausing to compose herself, letting out deep sighs. So far, prosecutors have been asking Cassie about her relationship with Combs, the fundamentals, the starting off points. They've asked about some of the abuse, but we expect, as questioning continues, that she will be asked more probing questions about the freak-offs and about this now infamous tape that we've seen from 2016 where Combs is captured on a security video beating and kicking Cassie. She was asked about it briefly in her initial testimony, and she said she was trying to leave one of those freak-offs. Cassandra Ventura, the singer known as Cassie, the key witness for the prosecution at Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial. On the witness stand on Tuesday, she gave her version of events of that now infamous videotape security footage of Combs beating her at a hotel in Los Angeles in 2016. Cassie telling jurors that she was involved in one of the freak-offs, the highly orchestrated sexual encounters that Combs had over the years. She was at the hotel with him. She wanted to leave the freak-off early because Combs had hit her and given her a black eye. She said she had a movie premiere scheduled for later, and she didn't want to mess that up. So she thought safest approach would be to leave the hotel and go home. Cassie said she grabbed her belongings, walked down the hall to the elevator, and as we see in that footage, Combs in a white bath towel walks down the hall after her, hits her, knocks her to the ground, kicks her, and then attempts to drag her back to the room. Cassie on the witness stand saying that the next thing I knew as she was bending down to put on her shoes was that I was thrown to the ground. She sighed heavily as a prosecutor walked her through the video, shown now for a 5th time to the jury on just the 2nd day of testimony in this case. Cassie testifying all day on Tuesday, will be back on the stand on Wednesday, and the key moment right as testimony wrapped up on Tuesday was her narration, her version of events of this video. She said she stayed on the floor as Combs grabbed her belongings and moved to take them back to the room. She said she felt safest on the floor. She didn't want him to do any more damage to her. When asked by a prosecutor how many other times Combs had knocked her to the ground like that, Cassie replied, "Too many to count. I don't know." Combs has pleaded not guilty. His lawyers say, if anything, the video and the testimony about violence points to domestic violence, not racketeering and sex trafficking, the charges in this case. Combs' lawyers contend that prosecutors have overcharged and that he should be found not guilty of these crimes. They'll have a chance to question Cassie once prosecutors are done with their questioning, part of a trial known as direct testimony, Cassie is one of at least 2 women expected to testify about their experiences at freak-offs with Combs. In all, prosecutors allege that he violated many women, naming at least 4 in their court charges. The trial resumes on Wednesday. Cassie back on the stand for more testimony. The first day of testimony at Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial concluded with jurors hearing from 2 witnesses. They heard from the assistant chief of security at the hotel in Los Angeles where Combs was seen on tape beating Cassie, his then girlfriend, in 2016. And then they heard from a man who was working as a male stripper back in the early 2010s and became involved in sex with Cassie while Combs watched. That's what he told jurors today. The key moment on day 1 of this trial was the jury seeing for the first time that videotape of Combs in the hallway of the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles beating and kicking Cassie. Now, prosecutors say this happened after a so-called freak-off, a sex party in a hotel room. Cassie was trying to leave, and Combs came out in a bath towel. He's seen on the video kicking her, at one point throwing a vase, and then they're retreating to the hotel room. Cassie ultimately leaves. Now, prosecutors say that this is just one slice of a 20-year pattern of abuse, violence, and sexual misconduct. Combs denies this. He has pleaded not guilty. His lawyers argue that consensual sexual relations are being construed into a sex trafficking and racketeering case. Now, jurors did not react as they watched this video in court. It was played on monitors around the courtroom. They each had individual video monitors in front of them. Combs shook his head from side to side as the video began. The video was then played 4 different times as prosecutors and then a defense attorney walked the witness, that assistant hotel security director, through the various parts of the tape. The second witness to testify says he met Combs and Cassie at a Manhattan hotel back in 2012. He was sent there ostensibly to perform a striptease for a bachelorette party, but instead Cassie answered the door, he says, and invited him in to have sex with her while Combs watched. This happened again and again up until about 2013 or 2014, and prosecutors say this was part of a pattern where Combs would invite male sex workers, people paid to have sex, with Cassie while he watched. Now we expect to hear from Cassie on Tuesday. She was expected to testify as early as today, but witness testimony ran long, so she is expected on the stand on Tuesday, and she is a key witness in this case, one of 4 accusers, possibly 4, that will testify for the prosecution.